Welcome to our 2024 Homebuyer webinar. We're Talbot team. We're so excited to host this webinar today to walk you through most of the home buying steps. I am going to give you a quick overview of our agenda. We're going to introduce ourselves, tell you a little bit about why we love what we do. We're going to give you an East Bay market update and give you a general overview of the home buying process. Today, though, we're really going to be focusing on steps 1 through 4. Then we'll talk about next steps, and hopefully we'll be able to set up initial buyer consultations with you. Who we are. There's some stats on us on the side, but I will let Paul start since he was the first member of the team.
My name is Paul Talbot. I started in 2013, so I've been a realtor for a little over a decade now. Some of my superpowers are construction and anything related to the systems and components of the house, foundation. So really just understanding a home, its construction, also anything having to do with contracts, negotiation. I also love finances.
I'm Jade Talbot. I am actually our team's lead listing agent. I work with buyers as well, primarily on the back end. I help set up your Compass collection, which is the home search tool that we use on our team, and make sure I get you information quickly about the home that you are interested in, tours set up, and all of that good stuff. And then I come in as well when it comes to actually writing an offer on a property that's potentially needs some work. We talk a lot about the different opportunities there are to increase the home's value and where to add ROI. Sometimes there's a house that we'll walk through that we're just like, this one is going to be really, really challenging. It's going to be hard for it to pencil out in terms of what you need to put in to get it to the conditions that you're excited to live in.
I'm Katie Hennessy. I'm in my 5th year in real estate. Before that, I was a teacher for 20 years. And so I think what I bring to this business is I'm really used to sort of accompanying people as they're learning about new things. A lot of times when people come to real estate, they are many people do 1 or 2 real estate transactions in their life. So it all feels very new. And I think I'm able to sort of help break things down in digestible parts without overwhelming people. And I can provide a nice, calm, steady presence. Yeah, I've been in the Bay Area also for 20 odd years. And I'm mostly working with a lot of buyers because I'm still newer to the business, though I'm increasingly having more opportunities for listings. And I have the benefit of this team where I've got Jade and Paul to lead, and I'm learning so much from both of them. And I think we work really well together as a team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Kerr. I am the newest member of the team. But that being said, I've been with the Talbot team since 2021. Before that, I actually worked in property management for a real estate investment trust, operating commercial high-rise buildings in San Francisco, as well as production studios. I've also grew up in the Bay Area. I was born in San Francisco, currently live in the Adams Point neighborhood in Oakland, but I've kind of bounced around all through the East Bay, San Leandro, Hayward, Alameda. I primarily work with more on the buyer side. What I love about being a realtor and being a part of this team is not only the kind of collaboration that we have, but each transaction is very different. And I feel uniquely positioned to just be that guiding hand through the process, and just being there, being present, communicating clearly, and just kind of guiding each client through the process is really why I enjoy being a part of this team and being a realtor.
Yeah, and I love what you said about us taking a collaborative approach. So that's really what sets us apart as a team. We always have coverage if you need to see a property. It's basically a time is of the essence type of market where if you need to see a house, sometimes you only have a few days to see it before the seller will be taking offers. So we want to make sure that we always have coverage. We want to make sure that we're always able to ask each other questions because we all have different strengths. Katie knows so much about TICs in San Francisco, Paul, construction, foundation issues, Matt with property management, condos, HOAs, that type of thing. So it's nice to all be working together. You'll also see that we're very tech enabled, which we'll go into today when we talk about more about Compass collections. The most common questions we get asked, it's kind of a 2-part thing, but Paul's going to talk a little bit about this.
The most common question we get asked is, how is the market? Is now a good time to buy and sell? We'll get into the part two in a little bit, but let's talk about the market, where we are now and how we got here. In 2020 and 2021, prices were a bit overinflated. This was due to historically low interest rates, the pandemic. Everybody was stuck in the house, so they were kind of yearning for bigger space. They were really focused on potentially getting into a home. Then we came to 2022 as the pandemic was starting to kind of mellow out, and the Fed really needed to increase rates to start to combat inflation. So as the rates started to increase in 2022, it was still a bit of a frenzy in early 2022, but then things really started to screech to a halt in the summer and fall. The rates, really shot up. We had constant rate hikes, and I believe we reached in the 6 to 7% interest rates in that fall. So we had a lot of homes that were listed that weren't selling. Buyers were starting to be very discerning, and it created this sort of stalemate. So that lasted throughout 2022 and into early 2023, these high interest rates and buyers are like, well, I'm really going to only buy something that I want. And sellers are starting to say, well, if I can't get the prices I could have gotten last year, they were down about, some sales were down 15-20% from the inflated pandemic years. Throughout 2023, though, we did see a bounce back to the tune of about 5 to 10%. So, things were starting to balance out, but overall transactions were down by about 30%. So overall, less buyers, but also less sellers kind of led to a balancing effect. And then we did see that rebound. So we're still a little bit lagging below the pandemic levels, but, we did see appreciation last year. In the fall of 23, we saw some weeks that were a little wonky where things got a little stalled out, and we saw some homes that didn't get offers, but sellers were a little bit more willing to be patient, not just accept an offer. And a lot of folks decided to pull their home from the market in the fall winter. So we watched inventory get even lower. And then, now just having wrapped up January in 2024, the market is pretty strong. All the forecasters anticipate rates to start easing pretty soon. So we're seeing a strong market. In fact, we just got a couple of buyers into contract on a home that was listed in the fall. They didn't really get the price that they were looking for or the competition. So they said, you know what, we're going to take it off the market. We're going to try again in the new year. It wound up being pretty competitive. There were 6 total offers, and our buyers were able to win. So we're really excited for them. That
was a really interesting situation. Actually, the seller gave a multiple counter offer. We'll go into a little bit about offers today, but they countered 4 different parties, and all 4 matched the price that the seller wanted. That is a huge change, if you can imagine, from the fall when the seller put the house on and it was crickets.
In 2024, what we're expecting is reasonable appreciation of a balanced market. Probably more sellers coming to the table, but also more buyers. And as rates start to look a little bit better, if you think about the 2 different positions that folks are in, one person wants to buy and one person wants to sell. It's a lot easier for someone who wants to buy to go talk to an agent, lender, and get pre-approved for a loan and get started with a search. But a seller who maybe was still hoping to hit a price that they could have gotten in 2021, or maybe they tried to sell in 2022 and it was a little hard, they may wait a little bit longer. So I think we're definitely going to see demand tick up a little faster than we see supply, and that should all lead to prices rising. Hopefully not too crazy, but I think we should start to see them rise throughout the next couple of years.
Is now a good time for you to buy a home? Are you able to answer yes to these questions? Are you planning to live in your home for the next 5 to 7 years? 5 years ago, that question was, are you planning to live in your home for 2 to 3 years? But there was such rapid appreciation from the pandemic that we anticipate it being a while before there's that enough appreciation in your home to be able to sell it at a profit. And we're always thinking about how we can help make you money and how we can help you gain wealth through real estate. So right now, that's the general advice. We want to make sure that you're okay staying put for 5 to 7 years because there will be costs when it comes time to sell. Are you conservatively able to afford a purchase? And that's considering your monthly payment, which you'll get into figuring out what loan option is the best for you. But you also want to make sure that you are able to afford any maintenance items that come up.
We like to give the figure of 2 to 3% of the cost of the home per year, but that figure is going to fluctuate annually. So on $1 million house, say $20,000 per year, $30,000 per year, it sounds like a lot, but there will be years where you don't do anything. And then there will be years where you need to replace a roof.
And we are really big on our team about making sure you understand the shelf life of the systems in your property. There are obviously situations that we won't be able to predict, but we like to prepare you the best we can because we know as homeowners ourselves, and Katie, you've experienced this too, when unexpected home maintenance issues arise, it's never fun. It's the day after we moved into our current house, the water heater broke. Luckily, we're still had the keys to our old house, so we were showering our boys in an empty house. And then the HVAC system went, so it's really good to be prepared. And then the next two questions really speak to that success mindset we talked about in the webinar write-up, right? So are you motivated to buy a home? Do you have this on your vision board for 2024 home ownership? Because in this competitive market, you really have to be motivated and willing to invest the time in your home search. It's really not something that you can just say, I'm just going to keep my eye on the market and see maybe something will come up. Yes, you can do that. And sometimes it will work out. However, the most successful home buyers that we have worked with have been very committed to the search, highly motivated to understand all of the ins and outs of the market and be in close communication with us throughout the whole property search. Other things that you want to consider and also let us know about, are there any life transitions coming up? Let's say potentially moving in a parent or sending a kid to school. We really help you figure out how to map out different life plans and future planning so that you end up in the house that you're really happy with for 5 to 7 years and beyond.
On this slide, you're going to see Brittany and Michelle down at the bottom, who were like the perfect example of the kind of buyer we were just talking about. I met them actually at an open house. We connected, we kind of did the thing we do, which we're going to go through those steps in a minute. But the big thing is they were newish to the Bay Area, at least one of them was, and they were wanting to move from the peninsula to Oakland. So they were living and working on the peninsula and coming here. Bay Area people know that's on a weeknight, that's an hour 15-minute commute. But they were very clear on what they wanted. They were crystal clear on exactly what they were looking for. And they really were committed to it. They immediately, as soon as I met them and I recommended a lender to them, they connected with her and they were ready to go really quickly. And then they really treated it like another job. They were coming many weeknights to come look at houses. Like we worked together for, I think by the time they got accepted, it was about 4 weeks. Because they made a lot of offers because they were super into it. They were coming every weeknight. They were coming on the weekends. And then they were making offers every week, sometimes multiple offers a week. They really just, I don't know, somehow they did what a lot of people struggle to do, which is like they didn't get down. They didn't take it personally. They believed in what they were doing. And they would really like some days dust off, same day, didn't get one and write another offer. And I wrote more offers for them, than I've written for any other client. But I didn't mind because they were so motivated. I knew they were going to get there. And when they got that, I think it was their 7th offer accepted. It was the perfect house. It was exactly where they wanted to be. They are so thrilled with it. They have become true Oaklanders in the time since we did that. They're about to get married and they're thrilled with what they did. And they were a pleasure to work with, but it was like we were all just so focused on that same goal and never relenting from that goal. And that's what made it happen.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about the benefits to home ownership by telling you a little bit about our home stories. So Paul and I were actually living in our 3rd home, and what we learned very quickly from home number 1, well, first, it's a process coming to agreement with your partner on what you want in a home. That is a whole exciting chapter that we love navigating with couples. I wanted the price to be low. I didn't care as much about the location or the condition, which is how we ended up with this house, the yellow one right here. It needed a lot of work. But we were able to use our house really as our piggy bank in the beginning of our marriage when we were just starting out. Everything that we earned, we put back into the house, put back into the house, put back into the house. So then we were able to sell it a few years later and move up and do a move up move. So I know a few of you are thinking about doing the same thing. We can help you map out how to do that. We then moved to San Leandro and got this house that it was an opportunity because it missed its offer date. And from there, we did the same thing, rinse and repeat, fixed up all the bathrooms, the kitchen, stayed there for enough time for it to appreciate, go up in value, and then did it again. The greatest thing about purchasing a primary residence is that when you go to sell it, there's a capital gains tax exemption of $250,000 for an individual and $500,000 for a couple. So all the money we earned from our first two homes was all tax-free, which is basically amazing. Katie has another story, or she's going to tell her story now.
I'm now living in the second home that my wife and I have purchased. And the first time we bought, we were both teachers at the time. And I think that we really had in our minds that like we couldn't buy, we just could not see it. The little baby that's in the box there in the picture, we had just brought her home. She's our third. The people we were renting from just basically said, we're not renting to you anymore. We essentially got evicted. And when that happened, when I had 3 babies, I just said, I can't. I needed more control over the stability of our housing. I definitely called in favors to get that first down payment, called mom and dad and said, do you love your grandchildren? And I lived with my in-laws for 6 months while we saved up some money and looked for a house. And I was like the most motivated buyer in the world, living with my in-laws and my 3 kids. Immediately it kind of like worked. We pulled it off in exactly the timeline we set, also working hand in hand with my lending partner, who they basically said, here's the plan and here's exactly what you need to do. And we did it. We just did it step by step. And then we were there for about 7 years and sold right at the height of the market. And so we did great equity wise. And that meant we were able to do a move up and keep our home payment, a monthly home payment, almost exactly the same, which
And
was
how much bigger is your current house than your first house?
almost 1,000 square feet.
2 extra bedrooms, extra bath, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And the kitchen of my dreams. So we were able to, we bought
Right.
something that was sort of a fixer and I got to create what I wanted with it, which I mean, all of that was incredibly lucky.
Yes.
It's a way to do stuff that I really didn't think was possible. And the little bit of money that my parents gave me to like help with that down payment, they don't mind it at all because what we've made from that little bit that they gave us is like incredible.
So quick overview of the home buying process. First starts out with an initial buyer consultation. We totally understand this is a process for you to choose the agent that is going to be the best fit for you. So understand if you're interviewing multiple people, our initial buyer consultations typically last about an hour. Partner with a local agent, get pre-approved, find your new home. So that's the home search process we're going to be digging into today. And then making an offer, negotiating your terms, and getting into contract and escrow are all parts of the process that we will go into in depth when you're ready to make an offer. The 3 of us, Paul, Katie, and I, are all former teachers. So we like to make sure that we aren't doing any information overload from the beginning. We're going to give you the keys to be successful during this phase. Make sure that you understand everything that's going on when you're ready for the next phase.
So a lot of you guys have probably talked to friends and family about their experiences of buying a home. It's just really important to note that our process may be slightly different because the Bay Area is a special place and it is home to some of the biggest tech companies, all of that. We have a unique process that isn't like everywhere else in the country. In fact, a lot of people get their info from, Google, NerdWallet, Bankrate. It operates very differently in our local market here. And then even the micro markets within the Bay Area, San Francisco, the East Bay, the North Bay. It's really important to have this initial buyer consultation to understand how the East Bay works because it's just a little different.
There's a lot of common misconceptions too. It's nice to get a chance to figure it all out. Buyer consultation.
So we have this initial consultation. It's really about getting to know you and what you need. We definitely have information we have to convey to you, but as we said, we're all teachers. And so part of us being able to convey information to you successfully is knowing you, what it is you're wanting to know, what your vision is, but then also like your burning questions might be really different than someone else's. So we really try to focus in on that. After we figure out what it is you're looking for, then it's like, okay, so how do we make this most comfortable for you? So then is now a good time to buy question might be important for one person, whereas like understanding if a lender matters is a different question, and talking about the down payment and all the extra costs. Different people are focused on different things. Some people really just want to talk about the house, and other people want to talk about these details. But that initial buyer consult is how do we work? What's your vision, and how can we bring those things together?
This is brand new for us. We wanted to kind of point it out because that really it's what we would do at the end of the initial buyer consult and then get you started with a lender. So it's to set up a contract between the buyer and their agent, hopefully us and you guys. And so beginning this year, we've shifted from a handshake agreement and we've switched to a more formal buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. So when you sign it, you basically say you're going to work with us exclusively. You can cancel the agreement at any time. You just send an email. So we never want anybody to feel committed, but we do want you to feel like you're professionally taken care of. And then this is a really big benefit. The term of the contract we talked a lot about, and we decided that 6 months makes a lot of sense, because if we're fully engaged, motivated, we're out there, we're looking at houses, our buyers average from the time they start to the time they have keys in their hand, somewhere between 60 and 90 days. So if we're at the 6-month mark, it could have just been a hard search, or could be a number of factors, but it's probably important to just have a conversation. And then it also states the compensation to the broker, which is typically 2.5%, can vary a little bit, but typically that's going to be 2.5% on our contract. And that is actually paid by the listing side in 99.9% of the cases. So what typically happens is a seller signs a listing agreement with an agent and they agree on an amount somewhere between 5 and 6%, and then they offer compensation to the buyer's agent. So the contract has that all set up in it, and then it really allows us to go in deeper and explain our obligation as an agent, as a fiduciary, and to formalize the relationship and have you covered under all of the rules that surround agency and stuff. So we're actually pretty excited about the change. It's going to roll out throughout most of California, and Compass specifically is really trying to get ahead of the curve. And we're all really hoping that it becomes just a mandatory thing that we all do to, make everybody's life probably a little easier.
So this is now rapid fire question time. Should I go with an online lender?
Not during the purchase process. Partnering with a local lender, whether it's a big bank or a direct lender broker, it's going to be really crucial to getting your offer accepted, because it's usually pretty competitive around here, and you're going to want that local person who's going to make a big difference.
What about this one? Should I wait until I get closer to finding a house before I choose a lender? I'm just kind of like dabbling right now.
So I would say no, you should talk to a lender as soon as possible. Again, if you're motivated to buy a home, it's great to have a conversation with a lender and to form a relationship. You may think that you're further off than you are, or you may think that you're ready right away, but maybe you need to do a few things, situate some funds. There are a lot of factors that go into that. Getting into a relationship with a lender, realtor and a lender, it's going to be really valuable to get that guidance and to have somebody to ask questions to.
What's the average down payment here in the Bay Area for a home?
Okay, so nationally, down payment average is like about 15%. In the Bay Area, we actually see a lot of down payments in that 20 to 30%. But we've worked with buyers with down payments in the 0 to 5% range.
So when does mortgage insurance come into play? When do I have to actually pay for it, and how can I avoid paying for it?
Mortgage insurance, or MI, is a monthly insurance payment that protects the lender in the event that you can't make your payments for some reason. Traditionally, mortgage insurance has come in when you have less than 20% down. There are a lot of programs now where 15%, even 10% down, they'll have no mortgage insurance on that program. But it does, traditionally come into play when you're thinking about putting less than 20% down. And it's about 0.5% of the loan amount to 1.5% of the loan amount annually. So it's spread out like in a monthly.
So I like my lender, I have my pre-approval, but I'm wondering if I can change lenders and shop around a bit once I'm in escrow.
Yes, you can change lenders while you're in escrow, and all of us as realtors probably get a couple more gray hairs when when it happens too many times. It can be really tricky to switch while you're in contract, but it is something that you can do. We recommend going into contract with the lender that you intend to close a deal with. We do a lot of that on the front end, and that kind of goes back to overview of the home buying process. That's why our process is different here, because we have that lender, we have that pre-approval, we're doing a lot of that work up front, and that's generally best practice.
Are there any special grants I should be looking into?
There are some special grants right now. Dream for All is big right now. There are programs through Cal HAFA, and there are also, other various county and city programs. Usually what we would want to do is talk to you individually and get you in conversation with the lender so that we can see if these programs make sense and, if they're available to you.
What about this? There's been a lot of layoffs in the Bay Area lately. I'm just wondering, how can losing income before I actually get into contract or during contract affect the home buying process for me?
Any change in income can affect the buying process. Typically, most loans are going to require most recent pay stubs. In fact, a lot of them will do employment verification phone calls. So your debt to income is a ratio that lenders use where they take your gross monthly amount that you bring in and they qualify you, based on a percentage of that, usually around 45% of your gross monthly, depending on whatever other debt you may have. So changes in income can definitely affect that, can go up and down. That's why it's, again, so important to have that relationship with a good lender you trust or a good realtor that you trust, because we need to know all that stuff.
And then finally, should I reach out to a lender first or a realtor?
In a lot of the country, reaching out to a lender first is potentially recommended. This is a Bay Area thing. You really want to find a realtor that you trust, because we can help do a big general assessment of what your goal is in buying a house and what your general financial picture looks like. And then we're going to send you to the right place, or have you talk to 2 or 3 people so you can compare a bit, but we're going to get you to the right place a lot quicker versus if you were to just talk to a lender, they're going to try to tell you why they should be the one to help you. But really what we want to do is play that quarterback role where we're sending you to the right place so that we can all work together to get those keys.
And I see some questions from Johanna, so I'm just going to list them off. So what if I'm considering purchasing a home outside of California? We are licensed in the state of California, but what's great about Compass is it's a huge national network of agents. We have a great referral program, a system for finding referral agents that are amazing in pretty much every location. So we can definitely talk offline and help you vet other agents and give you some names. Do you work with Dream for All to help cover the down payment? So Dream for All is definitely a program that we would recommend that you speak to a lender about. We have a really great one who's completely up to date on all of the eligibility requirements and can help you make sure that you're ready to get in queue, because this time around, there are eligibility requirements, a 1-hour homebuyer course. It's for, first generation home buyers, and then you'll be entered into a lottery in order to actually get to use this program, because last time they rolled it out, it was very complicated and totally overwhelming to the system. And then home insurance, do you recommend it, especially if the water heater goes out? can you have this coverage, especially in an older home? So everyone with a loan has to have home insurance. But I think what you're asking about is the home warranty, which when we had our water heater go out, we did not have a home warranty. Why was that, Paul?
Home warranties have been fickle things traditionally. Katie, do you want to chat a little bit about with your experience with home warranty? I think you had some interesting experience there.
I think they can be helpful in some situations, certainly, like when something like that, the example you gave with the water heater happens, like that's awesome. I also had a situation where like I had an issue with like garbage disposal and a pipe underneath my sink and with our first house. And so I called the home warranty people and they came and they fixed it. And in the fixing of it, they put a hole in the wall. The wall went to the outside and they were like, we don't cover the outside. So the dude literally left with a hole in the wall of my house. And I had to pay for the fixing of that hole, not to mention covering that hole to the outside. So it was just, they can be a little limited. So you want to make sure you get the right, thing and know what the limitations are. They can cover those appliances and things, which is great, but don't expect them to do everything.
Johanna, ask your question.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for answering my question. So yeah, this is all new to me. So then what you're saying is there's a mortgage insurance and that's to protect the lender. So in case you cannot make your payment, there is no like home insurance. It's called home warranty, right? And you can purchase that to help cover those things. And I'm only familiar with that because my son has it for both his houses. And so, he rents one of them out and the toilet, they broke something on the toilet for the rental home. And so they called it and then they didn't have to fork out this money out of their pocket, which was nice. So buying a
Sorry, just to jump in, there is home insurance. It's just different than a home warranty.
Okay.
And home insurance is a hot topic right now in California. So ask your next question and then we can go back to home insurance and chat a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, okay. So the Dream for All I get is actually got a email. I'm subscribed with the city that I'm with, and because I'm always looking to just see what programs they have and stuff. So let's say, since that's a lottery, so I mean, I don't get in there. You do work with other programs, there's other grants and stuff that can provide first-time home buyers, assistance with their down payment, closing costs, and things of that nature.
We work with different lenders who can definitely talk to you about all those options. They're going to be the best person to figure out what programs fit your exact needs and get you all of the information about them. And then we work with you more on the home search side. And then we're in partnership with the lender so that we're all on the same page and making sure that we have the end goal in mind. Everyone understands the finances, what you're qualified for, what you're comfortable paying, and that.
Okay. And what would be a good, lastly, so I've been spending the last few years just really working to reduce my debt and to increase my FICO score. So right now it's like the best I've ever had it. Yeah, I think 790 or almost 800. And,
Nice.
coming from somebody, quick background, single mom, 3 kids, raised them by myself, struggled. There was a point I didn't even have a checking account. I had to pay my rent with like money orders. That's how bad after my divorce anyway. So fast forward, 25, 30 years, I've really come a long way and I feel really, really proud about all the work and effort I've done and raising my kids and all of that. So now it's like I just, I'm like, okay, let me work on these things that I can control and just kind of exploring now what is there. And I say out of state because I have been looking and actually been traveling to different states to kind of get a feel for them. Like, do I fit here? Can I see myself living here? So I've gone, everywhere to Tennessee, which I will not move to Washington, Colorado, Oregon. And I really like Washington. I really like Colorado. I really like the Pacific Northwest area. So that's why I asked the question, and I understand that you have referrals, but
Oh yeah, and I'm from Seattle, so I have some really good referrals for that area.
yeah. I think I love to hike. I love nature. So for me, I think I need to just be around mountains, and I love California, but I don't know if it's a place that I can afford to buy on one income. But you never know until you look and and you ask. So anyways, just wanted to share that, but thank you. This is very helpful. I appreciate all the info.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing part of your story. That gave me chills. I'm so happy for you and how far you've come. And I hope that we can be able to chat, have our initial buyer consultation, and just talk about your options, and we can help guide you to the right places, talking to the right lenders, talking to the right referral agents in different places, so that next time when you're traveling, in addition to just scoping out the neighborhood, it would also be nice to be meeting with other agents so that you can get the lowdown on real estate where you're traveling.
Yeah, thank you.
So we'll do this one pretty quickly. Preparing for closing costs, it's basically, we want to make sure that all of our buyers are prepared for closing costs. It's a conversation we always like to have. Your lender should be having it with you as well. But your down payment, in addition to the closing costs, is how much cash you will need to close escrow. So it's not just if you're, for example, a VA buyer and you're going 0% down, you will still have closing costs. There will still be costs to bring to the table. So we want to make sure that you understand that if you're putting 3.5% down as an FHA home buyer, you should be adding an additional 2.2%-ish. Sometimes it's less, more like 1.5%, but we want to be conservative so you have extra and aren't like surprised by a high number for closing costs. And some of these fees are loan origination fees. I spelled that wrong, sorry. Title fees, lender fees, sometimes prepaid costs like homeowners and mortgage insurance, and then city transfer tax. That is different in every single city. And it ranges from 0.5 to 0.75. That's split 50-50. So 0.6 to 0.75 would be after it's split. It's not applicable in certain unincorporated communities. So we know we have a list of them that we can share with you. Off the top of my head are East Richmond Heights, Castro Valley, Hillcrest, Knowles, and San Leandro. There are a few unincorporated places, and when you find them and you get into contract, it's nice because it's a little bit cheaper to close escrow. So we've got our loan, we're pre-approved, we're ready to go. We signed our buyer broker agreement. Now we're gonna talk about actually finding that home and what are the factors that we need to look out for.
There's three major factors in purchasing a home, and I love this chart. It's a simple chart because all of these things affect each other. So there's price. How much can you afford to buy? We all typically have a limitation unless we're Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. At a certain point, we all have our limitation, whatever that is. So then we have the location that we want to be in, and then the condition of the home. So if we had any amount of money to spend, we could pick any location and we could get any condition of house. We could get a 10,000 square foot home overlooking the ocean in Los Angeles.
Jay-Z and Beyonce just bought a $200 million home.
Exactly. That's when price that's when price is really flexible. I'd say quite flexible in that case. So these are the things you need to think about. You have a set location and you want the 3-bed, 2-bath, but the 3-bed, 2-bath costs maybe $100,000 or $200,000 more. So do I want to move my location and maybe go one neighborhood out and explore a different area so I can get that 3-bed, 2-bath? Or do I want to maybe look for a 3-bed, 1-bath where there's a little bit of potential to add a half a bath or a full bathroom later? Or do I want to go with a 2-bed, 2-bath? This is a really good thing to think about because housing stock and the prices that houses cost, if we're looking in an area for something that doesn't exist, we can always kind of go back to this and use this to drill down on what's most important. And as really good and diligent buyer's agents, we want to be successful and realistic and really kind of help people understand how these things all affect each other. So,
and then typically we'll start with putting a cap on the higher end of where your purchasing power is, so we can capture all the homes within that range when we're setting up a home search for you. And then we'll focus on the areas that you're interested in living, and then adding all those details of how many beds, how many baths, and fixer upper, cosmetic fixer, and so forth. So we set this up in Compass Collections. We have customized searches, and we monitor new listings daily. And we ask that you do too. The collections are a really great way for us to collaborate with each other. And then also, since we're on a team, we can all see what's going on. So Paul and I will be able to see the same comments from our shared clients, or Katie and I, or Matt and I, which is really, really nice, because we can chime in and make sure that you get information as quickly as possible. This is an easy way for you to request showings, comment. Some comments, we give you a guide once you actually sign up to work with us, where we tell you, okay, here are the different standard comments, can I please see disclosures? When is the offer date? Are there any red flags that I should be thinking about with this house? Is this a transparent price? So that's a question that you'll be probably wondering in the beginning of your home search, but that you'll pretty quickly start to understand once you get a few weeks in and notice the list prices, and then eventually the sale prices. So we love working in the Encompass collection and using the app with our clients, just because it's such a collaborative process. You can add in properties that you like. We can add in properties for you, and you see everything that you would on Redfin and Zillow, with the exception, Paul did a side-by-side comparison. There were a couple that didn't seem to pull through. So we definitely still encourage you, if you want to use the other apps, please do, but this is just the best for collaborating. A lot of what we do in our initial buyer consultation, and as we're getting through communicating Encompass collections, going out and touring, is how you can spot an opportunity in this market. That is what we really pride ourselves on our team, being able to teach you the ways to figure out, how am I going to get the best return on my investment? This is the biggest investment you might ever make in your life. So how do you make a smart investment, and how can you make one that is going to hopefully yield great results for you? So a few different things that you should be looking for here are, how many days has the home been on the market? So this one actually was just canceled. So this would typically say, I guess it would say price drop right here. 86 days. It was on the market for 86 days before it was canceled. Most recently, price dropped on January 17th. And from the looks of the property, it had all the right things. It had the staging, it had the professional pictures, it looked and presented very nice. But when we went down to the private remarks right here, we saw a few different things, including there's a high sewer lateral replacement cost, which is a cost that you'll need to be aware of if you're buying in Oakland or Berkeley or some areas of Richmond. And then, it said something about tree trimming and insurance. And it also shared a little bit lower the disclosures, which had, I think, over $150,000 in section 1 of the pest report. So that's like a very, very, very high cost. Basically, all of the decks surrounding this house on stilts in Montclair in the Oakland Hills needed to be replaced. So it gets very, very, very pricey. We're able to help suss that out very, very quickly by just taking a glance in the private remarks and looking through the disclosures. Another way to spot an opportunity, or I guess this was a little bit of a red flag. It could have been an opportunity if we had buyers who were potentially, willing to put in that extra cash, but that's a lot of extra cash to have to bring to the table. How does the home look online? How is it marketed? You want to pay attention. Are there beautiful watercolor portraits or twilight shots in those front pictures? Or does it look like it was taken on someone's cell phone? Like, I just was scrolling through looking at pictures today, and it was all the pictures were portrait mode instead of landscape. And so they were cut off and you couldn't barely see anything. Or sometimes you'll see like the agent's head poking out in the mirror. That is all a good way to spot an opportunity, because for me, I see that and I think, wow, this listing agent didn't do everything that he could to make this listing look the best. And there are going to be tons of people who just swipe right by it and never go even see the house. And it could be a gem. Is the property vacant or staged? staged properties do sell faster and at a higher price. So, I mean, if it's good staging, sometimes the staging, not all staging is created equal. So if it's beautifully staged, that's going to likely be a bit more competitive property unless there are some red flags or anything hiding beneath the surface. And then, is it a Compass private exclusive or coming soon? So some of these pictures I have on the bottom, actually, these two, is Dan and Jess, and Yetta and Vincent, who both purchased properties on Compass private exclusives. Those were exclusive properties that Compass agents were marketing to Compass agents and that were not on the MLS yet. So everybody that was looking on Zillow and looking on Redfin couldn't actually even see these properties yet. We got in the first couple of days that within hours, I think, for Dan and Jess, we got into this property. They wrote an offer the same day and got it accepted. And that was instant equity because if they would have gone to market, it would have likely gone higher. For that seller though, it made sense. They didn't want a bunch of people going through the house and it was fine for them. The extra $50,000 didn't matter. But for our home buyers who are starting their family and figuring out a place to move within their budget for their new baby, that was huge. And then Megan and Milad here on the corner in this Tudor, they actually toured this house when it first came on the market and they could not see past the carpet and the yellow walls. And then they wrote about 6 other offers on different houses in Oakland and kept getting beat out, getting beat out. So we went back to this house and we said, let's just take a look at it. Now that you've gone through all these other properties in Oakland, let's take a look at it and see if it's something that you might like. We talked them through the cosmetic upgrades. They decided they were going to write an offer. They got into contract and immediately after they got keys, they did the work, just maybe $7,000 of cosmetic work. And it was instant equity. So these are the type of opportunities that we want to find for our clients. Of course, if you're looking for a home that is completely move-in ready, you don't have to touch a thing, amazing, great. We will go to bat for you. We will negotiate on your behalf and we will try to get you the best deal possible for the house. But if you're also looking for something that might need a little work, we'll do that too. The sample weekly home search schedule is something that we will talk about in our initial buyer consultation, but basically the whole point is that we're in very constant communication when you're home searching. We're checking in before the weekends. We help set up a nice tour for you to go see open houses over the weekend. And then we'll check in the beginning of the week and hopefully tour once a week. That is what that says. And I can send you our home search flow after this call. I'm going to skip this home buyer spotlight, even though it's so great. But basically it goes back to what Paul was saying with price, location, condition. Chitron Sadir, very, very focused on the price. They had to make a sacrifice. And then finally, this is the last thing, Katie.
The characteristics of a successful home buyer are just like, you're really ready to go. You're really focused on what you're doing. And you've hopefully listened to what we've said about the value of home ownership, and you're bought in to that. You have a great relationship with a good realtor, with a good lender. You don't waste time on properties that are out of your range in some way. You write offers that are to win. So you're looking at properties where like you can make a really strong offer, not ones where you're stretching and you're not likely to get. That can really get you down. And so it's not a great way to go. And then just, there will be setbacks. Even when you make great offers, you'll make great offers and you will lose. And so just being able to keep pushing ahead and don't let that get you down.
Thank you, Katie. Questions? Any immediate questions? Oh my goodness, Yolanda just signed off. I didn't realize you had a 12-week-old baby. Congratulations. If you haven't signed off yet. Oh, I see you there. Congratulations. We'll chat soon. And next up, so I know we talked about initial buyer consultation. Let's get one set up. I'll email you all individually and we'll hopefully get a time to talk individually. And then we will get started on the process. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out. You have my email and you can find us also on Instagram, Talbot_team. It was great having you. It's our first webinar of the year, and we're very, very happy that you were able to join us.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.